I'm Doug from Global West. Thought I'd take a minute here and talk to you about 1965 through 70 Impala, Biscayne, Bel-Air, and Caprice. This particular control arm I have in front of me is a CTA 50L. It is a direct replacement over the stock unit for those particular applications. As you can see here, we do have a stock unit over here, and you'll notice the big rubber bushing right here. And I want to show you one other thing is about where the spring index is on the stock. Of course, this is your sway bar attachment. Well, in our tubular control arms, we've definitely increased the load capability of the lower control arm. These are pretty heavy cars, and now we've got performance springs going into them. You've got some pretty big tires going on. You've got a lot of horsepower. Cornering loads are going up. We need to beef that lower control arm up. So I'm going to show you a couple things real quick. On our lower control arm right here, we run a double tube that goes through on the outer section right here. This is all about handling more load. You notice the cross bracing here, actually for additional supports. We have a sway bar attachment. Factory sway bar bolts directly on. And we also have spring cushion. Now this spring cushion rotates down in the pocket. Now it's only going to rotate when you rotate it. Once the spring is on there, it's not going anywhere. Now why do we do that? A lot of guys will take a coil spring and they're going to trim their coil spring to lower their vehicle a little bit. Well, there's an index in the frame for the spring, and there's also an index in the lower control arm, like I showed you here on the stock one. Here's your index. Well, when you trim it to set your ride height, there's a good probability that that index in the lower control arm is no longer be proper an index in the factory location. So by building a rotating spring pocket like we have here, and the contours to the spring, the design, all you have to do is index the spring in the frame, and then wherever that end of the spring is down here, you just rotate the pocket to the end of it, lock her down, and we're there. It's all indexed. It's done. Nice feature for these particular control arms. Let's talk about the bushing area. Well, the factory uses a rubber bushing. We use a bearing. The reason why we put a bearing in here is because you have an eccentric on the lower control arm. That's an offset cam. That's how you set your camber on these particular vehicles. When you're running a rubber bushing, like so here, which you can see here in the factory arm, as the control arm moves up and down through its travel, the rubber bushing has resistance to it, and it actually tries to turn the eccentric. And if that eccentric rotates, that's how you lose your camber. That's how you lose your alignment. So by putting a spherical bearing over here, these are spacers that go on each side of the bearing. Let me show you what it allows us to do. This bearing will allow for pitching, moving, and the rotation of the control arm up and down without putting that twisting load on the eccentric. Therefore, the alignment is going to stay in reference to the eccentric from shifting, where it's very possible it could with the rubber bushing. There's a couple other things here we got going on as well. You're probably wondering what this is used for. Well, we give you this dowel in the kit because these particular pieces, these spacers go on, one goes on each side of the bearing. So because this lower control arm fits up into the frame, it's very difficult to get these spacers and your fingers up in there and get everything positioned in order to hold everything in alignment to put the bolt through. So when we give you this dowel here so that you can slide this up into position on the frame, slip your eccentric bolt through, and of course this will just pop out the other side, and it cuts your time down on assembly. Amazing, okay? It's just the best way to get those in there. So we furnish that in the kit because you're going to need it. Take stock lower ball joints. You can buy these things anywhere in the country. There's nothing special about that. We've designed the arm also to accommodate the different spindles that are out there because there's drop spindles and what have you, and when you get into that, there's variables. And we've already accommodated all those into this control arm, so you should have no troubles whatsoever. The stock brake reaction strut rod bolts directly to it. We do build a performance one as well. This arm that I'm showing you right here is for a standard spring. We also build them for airbag and hydraulic cars, and we also build them for coilover. So part number CTA 50L Nice little setup for your 65 through 70. Easy bolt on. It could carry a lot of load. Definitely a nice upgrade.